Welcome to the Transum podcast, a monthly roundup of the new features on the transum.org website, providing mathematical puzzles, games, learning activities, and the ever-popular mathematics lesson starter of the day. Here's your host, John Tranter.
Hello and welcome to the Transum podcast for February 2017. It's been recorded a little earlier than normal to make up for the fact that there was no podcast in January and that I'll be travelling in the UK at the time that I would normally be recording this. So here it is a little bit early. Okay, let's start off as normal with this month's puzzle. And it's about a restrained flea that jumps 1 foot at a time, either north, south, east or west. So the puzzle is to work out how many different places could he end up after 8 jumps. Okay, I'll let you think about that for a while the rest of the podcast runs on, and the answer will be at the end.
You are listening to the Transum podcast. You can find Transum Mathematics at www.transum.org.
Okay, while you think about that, I would like to tell you of 5 resources on the Transum website that have been updated recently and particularly support pupils preparing themselves for tests and exams. And in particular, students preparing for the UK's GCSE, the new style GCSE exam that will take place for the first time later this year. The first one is a series of question papers called Weekly Workouts, and they're aimed at students on the foundation level course of the GCSE, but those that are hoping to achieve one of the higher grades available. Each of these weekly workouts contain 7 exam-style questions, and the first 6 can be answered online because they're a single number answer, but the 7th requires the student to do some drawing or plot a graph or some sort of construction that needs to be checked by the teacher. And each workout can be printed nicely onto an A4 sheet of paper. So they're a nice resource, and recently 5 more have been added. So have a look at that in the exam style questions. Incidentally, the links to all of the things I talk about in this podcast can be found at transum.org/newsletter. Right, number 2, practice papers. We've spoken about foundation level. Well, these are for students who are on the higher level GCSE course. And these are longer, more substantial questions, and each one is similar to one of the questions produced on the board's specimen material for the 2017 exams. But the context has been changed and the numbers have been changed, so they are quite different. And full worked solutions are available for each question for Transum subscribers. Number 3 is a page of revision tips, suggestions and links to resources for anyone preparing for a mathematics exam at any level. So there are links to the self-marking exercises on the basic maths concepts, along with puzzles, games and investigations, all designed to support revision. And number 4 is a novel idea, syllabus checklists. So basically it's the syllabus for the common exams presented in a sort of an interactive format, so that students can go through each objective and classify them as either okay, easy, or help, I need some help. And then they can print off the objectives that they have classified as requiring help and use the paper copies to fill in spaces for their notes as their understanding develops. So I'm sure you'll find novel ways to use that resource, but it's called the syllabus checklists. And finally, in this little section, an exam presentation to be shown to the candidates about a week before they take the exam. It contains tips and tricks that students might find useful when doing their last-minute preparation. And those of you that subscribe to the Transom Mathematics, you can download the PowerPoint version of the presentation so that you can customize it to suit your particular situation. In addition to all of those things already mentioned, many other pages of the Transom website have been updated or changed. A couple of things I'll just direct you to now. A new starter of the day called Tin Dice. It provides a quick, fun, well, it's fun if you know the answer, but it's a starter to a busy maths lesson. But it could also be used to initiate an investigation into the sum and products of odd and even numbers. So have a look at that. Again, the links are all at transom.org/newsletter, and you can find the link to Tin Dice. Now, I often help older students with their understanding of significance testing in statistics. In particular, the chi-squared test is often clouded with strange precedents and terminology. So a very short presentation called Significance has been developed to simplify the concept and to get the student to analyse the data provided by the Optical Illusions Survey. So as a subscriber, you can see the results of the significance testing in real time. So as students add more data, the tables and the results are updated. So this is a real-world example that students can get involved with when practicing the chi-square test. They would, of course, use their calculators to find the results. And the presentation concentrates on sort of the big idea, but it leaves you as the teacher to fill in any gaps that have been left out of the presentation because they're considered a bit confusing when you're first learning this topic. The Transom website was particularly busy in the weeks leading up to Christmas. Some of the Christmas activities had been updated, and clearly people all over the world were enjoying them. So if you missed out this year, why don't you ensure that you don't miss out next year by sending yourself a time-delayed email? So, put the URL of the ChrisMaths page into an email, address it to yourself, and then in most email programs such as Outlook, there's a delay delivery button at the top. You can click on that, put in the date of the 1st of December, say, and then send it to yourself so that you don't miss out in the next Christmas season. Okay, so the answer to this month's puzzle can be found by considering. Think of the flea on a coordinate grid starting at the origin. If the flea only jumps in one direction, it would end up at either 0, 8, 8, 0, 0, minus 8, or minus 8, 0. Now consider all the possible points in the first quadrant. So you have to think of all the values of x and y, where let's say x is the number of jumps east minus the number of jumps west, and y is the number of jumps north minus the number of jumps south. And it's probably a good idea at this point to just sketch out these points until you can see the pattern. And quickly a pattern does emerge. And then when you've got the first quadrant sorted out, multiply that by 4. Add on the points on the axes and the final point that's at the origin, in case the flea jumps back to where it started. And you should get a final answer of 81. That's all for now. See you next month. Bye.
Thank you for downloading and listening to the Transum podcast. You can find the website at www.transum.org, where you're welcome to use all of the activities absolutely free, or jump in with both feet and become a Transum subscriber.